I'm Rachael Bryson and this is Preston Lamb meets the Poulton elk. Preston Lamb woke very early, just after sunrise. The crowing of the cockerels down on the farm meant that it was impossible to get back to sleep. Preston Lamb didn't mind though. He was too excited to sleep, as today was going to be a big adventure. Preston had plans. He was going to take a trip into his namesake city and visit the Horace Museum and Art Gallery. He had heard lots of good things about the Horace and he couldn't wait to see it for himself. After a breakfast of healthy oats, he got himself ready for his visit. He combed his white curly hair and made sure that he didn't miss any bits of straw that might have got stuck in his curls. He put on his favourite woolly jumper, which was blue and white, Preston's favourite colours, and looked at himself in the mirror. Very smart, Preston thought to himself. I'm ready for my journey into the city. The number 44 bus stopped to pick him up. It was also blue and white, just like his jumper. When the bus reached Preston bus station, Preston Lamb's tail gave a little wiggle of excitement. He followed the other passengers off the bus, but instead of going straight down the stairs, he turned to speak to the driver. I'm going to the Horace Museum, Preston exclaimed. Head that way, son, you can't miss it. It's the most beautiful building in Preston. Well, after our very own bus station, of course, the bus driver replied with a laugh. It's my first time, said Preston. I can't wait to. The bus driver cut him off. That's lovely, lad, you have a nice time, won't you? Preston got the feeling the bus driver was too busy to chat and could see the queue of new passengers waiting to get on board. Preston thanked the driver and left, disappointed that he didn't share his excitement. Preston headed in the direction the bus driver had shown him. He wasn't sure which way to go next, as there were so many grand buildings on Lancaster Road, but he followed his nose and ended up outside the grandest of them all. Preston's little tail shook with delight. He was finally here. Preston entered the Horace Museum. He looked up and around him with his mouth open wide. The building was huge, bigger than the biggest barn back on the farm. He suddenly felt a little scared. A thought crossed his mind. What if I get lost? The little lamb got rid of the bad thought and instead focused on where to go first. He really wasn't very sure, but then he saw the red hoof prints on the stairs. He looked at the ends of his own legs and realised the prints were just like the ones he made in the mud back at the farm. Ah, this must be the way for lambs like me, he said, quite relieved. He made his way up the big stone steps, following the red prints as he went. Preston was so intent on following the hoof trail that he hardly looked up and the stairs became a sea of knees. Take care now and mind out, he heard, as he made his way up to the first floor. Sorry, Preston repeated, but he never took his eyes off the hooves. He followed the last remaining red hooves and entered a gallery. A sign above his head read, The Story of Preston. Preston wondered for a moment. How did they know I was coming? Inside the gallery were lots of big glass cases containing objects. They must be very special things to be kept in there, Preston thought. He pressed his face up to the glass. He liked looking at the objects, but he wasn't sure what they all were, as he couldn't read human very well. He headed towards the large windows overlooking Lancaster Road. It was then he saw it. He stepped backwards in shock and let out a frightened little bleat. Above his head was an enormous creature, much bigger than any creature he had ever seen in his life. The reason why he was so shocked wasn't because of its size, but because it wasn't wearing any clothes. Preston had so many questions and couldn't wait to find out more. He looked in the cases that surrounded the base of the giant creature. He saw a sharp, pointy object, but he couldn't manage all of the words which would tell him about it. There was a little screen which had information on it. Preston was just about to settle on the chair to watch the screen when he heard the loudest noise. It was even louder than the bellows of the old bulls down on the farm. But there were no bulls, at least not full ones, in here. There was just him, a boy who looked about 9, standing across from him, and the beast towering over the two of them. How rude, thought Preston. I hope that boy is going to say pardon me. The boy must have caught Preston eyeing him with suspicion and laughed. That wasn't me, it were him, pointing at the creature. Preston was slightly alarmed. You mean he speaks? Show me how. Preston remembered his manners as he raced around to join the boy. Please, he squealed. The boy said, there, you just press that. The boy pointed at a bright red button. The boy said, it's all yours, little lamb, and wandered off, leaving Preston alone at the end of the gallery with only the beast and the button for company. Preston pressed the button. Again, the creature with the strange horns made a noise just like the old bulls back at the farm, and Preston realised he understood every word. Finally, he muttered aloud, "Here's someone who can answer all my questions." The beast had said to Preston, "And who might you be?" Pressing my button, waking me up from my rest, demanding answers. "I'm Preston Lamb. I'm so sorry, Mr. I realise I don't even know your name. What's your name?" The trembling little lamb pressed the button again and hoped this time the naked animal was in a better mood. He was sorely mistaken. The big voice boomed out, "You mean you don't even know who I am? I am the mighty elk." Preston looked up at the mighty elk and said meekly, "I'm so sorry to disturb you, Mr. Elk. It's just that I have so many questions, and you look so old, so important and so very wise. I thought you might be able to help." The elk was taken aback at such a polite and accurate request. His pride got the better of him, and he found himself replying, "Well, when you put it like that, fire away, ask as many questions as you like, Master Lamb." The little lamb, with renewed confidence, said to the mighty elk, "You can call me Preston. What's your first name?" With that, he hit the red button again. The mighty elk didn't reply straight away. Preston thought he had pressed the button too hard and had broken it. He was very disappointed in himself. Then the big voice hesitated. "I'm not sure what my first name is. I hear people refer to me as the Poulton Elk, the Carlton Elk, and just plain old Horace. Out of those, I like Poulton best, as it starts with a P like Preston. Poulton and Preston. Preston's a place and Poulton's a place. I'm a lamb and you're an elk. We have so much in common already. Gosh, this is fun, isn't it? Can I just ask, where are your clothes? Are you not cold?" Preston hoped that he had now cheered up his new friend Poulton enough to ask such a personal question, and he pressed down the red button with his hoof once more. The elk made a throaty noise. "Oh no," thought Preston, "I've made him mad already." He then realised the elk was laughing. "Clothes, boy? Ha ha ha, I don't wear clothes. I think you mean where is my skin and fur? Well, yes, I guess that's what keeps you warm like clothes. So where are they?" The red button was pressed again. "I was found like this," said Poulton. "I was found in the ground in Poulton. I had been there a very long time. So I guess my skin and fur had all rotted away and now I'm just bones." Said a curious Preston. "So are you very old?" His hoof pressing the button again. "Ha ha, do all your questions rhyme, Preston?" Preston was very glad he was cheering the old elk up, but he didn't understand his question. "What's rhyme, Poulton?" He pressed the button. "When two words sound alike. Are you cold? Are you old? That's rhyme." "See, you are very wise," he said to the elk. "You mean like Poulton and Preston? They sound alike, don't they?" Preston thought about keeping his hoof on the button for a long time, so he didn't have to remember to press it so often. But some people had walked by and had shaken their heads at Preston, so he thought better of it. He pressed it just once. "Well, yes, but they don't rhyme. Preston rhymes with Poulton rhymes with Do you have any more questions? I'm getting tired. You do know I'm 13,500 years old. I tire very easily." "Oh, sorry, Poulton. Yes, I have more questions. I have never seen horns like yours on any animal I know. Are you not from this country?" The red button went down again. "Elks like me used to live in this country during the Ice Age, when there was nothing but grass, trees and water, and only a few people. Now you'll find us in Scandinavia, Canada, places where it can be a little cold and damp. We don't mind the cold. Our fur keeps us warm, you see." "So how did you get here?" Preston asked Poulton, and pressed the button again. "I'm not really sure how I got here. I remember going out, wandering around my patch, looking for something good to eat, maybe some herbs or twigs. Then some people came. They shouted and I ran. They chased me and fired pointy things at me. One of them, you can see it, just down there, stuck in my leg, but I kept on running. Elks can run very fast. I ran until I could run no more. I found some water in a lake. I was so thirsty from running. I went to take a drink. I was exhausted. I lay down next to the water, and when I woke up properly again, I was here at the Horace Museum, their star exhibit. "Oh no," said Preston. "Were you scared? Did they hurt you?" Poulton didn't answer. Preston thought his question must have upset him, but then he realised he'd not pressed the red button. He did so, and Preston answered, "Mighty elks like me don't get scared. Their pointy arrow head thingy did hurt my leg, but I just kept on running and running. They couldn't catch me." "You sound very brave," said the little lamb, sounding impressed with his new friend. "Did the same thing happen to them?" said Preston, looking up and over his shoulder at the cow skulls above him. He had felt them staring down at him the whole time that he had been there. "Do they talk too?" "Those are aurochs. They were found at Preston docks, but they aren't even nearly as old as me. However, we all come from a time when people needed to hunt and kill animals like us for meat to eat, so I guess something similar happened to them too. You could ask them, but they aren't as important as me and don't have a bright red button, so you might not hear their answers very well," said a very proud Poulton, as if he was king of the gallery. By this time, other eyes had begun to stare at Preston and Poulton too. A few visitors had turned their heads in the animals' direction. Some had frowns on their faces, some had smiles. A young lady in a smart jacket was heading towards Preston. She looked in charge but kind. "Come now, young lamb, best let some other kiddies have a go with that button. We've had some complaints that you have pressed it, let's say a number of times, and are making a fair amount of noise." A man stood nearby shouted, "Quite right too." A woman stuck up for Preston and joined in. "Oh, come on, leave the lad alone. Look how his little tail wags every time he presses the button. He's just enjoying himself. He's not doing any harm." Preston didn't want to get in any trouble and said, "Can I just press it one more time, please? I've got one more question for my friend Poulton, and I don't want to leave him without saying goodbye and thank you." The young official in the smart jacket looked slightly puzzled but said, "Can't argue with that. What a polite young lamb you are. I'll leave you to say goodbye to your friend." The people surrounding Preston and Poulton returned back to their own business, and the lamb pressed the bright red button for the last time this visit, but not before saying his goodbyes to Poulton. Preston meant every word when he said to his new friend, "Thank you, Poulton Elk. It's been wonderful meeting you, and I have enjoyed all of your interesting stories. With all of your cleverness, can you tell me who I should visit next in the museum?" Poulton too meant every word of his reply. "It has been a pleasure meeting you too, young Preston lamb. You are very polite and so keen to learn, a real symbol of your city. Now I recommend you visit Pauline in the yellow dress. She has 2 doggy friends with her, and there are animals on the Greek frieze upstairs. In fact, there are so many animals dotted around the place, you will have to come and visit us again and to talk to us all. If you do, make sure you pop in and see me again, won't you?" "Oh, thank you for all the ideas, Poulton. I will come and visit you again. I've loved it here." Preston turned to walk away, but remembered one more thing to say to Poulton. He looked up at his new friend. "You said a rhyme before. When you said meet and eat, that's a rhyme." Although nobody pressed Poulton's red button, Preston was sure he could hear the mighty elk chuckling, but ever so quietly, and as he walked beneath the cattle skulls, he heard them all say, "See you soon, Preston," in a very quiet chorus. So they could talk too. Knowing this, he headed out of the gallery to find Pauline in the yellow dress. He hoped her doggy friends had red buttons. If not, he would just have to listen very carefully to all of the history and information filling the air of the Horace Museum. It was all around him. Can you hear it too?